What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be installing some GSC S2 cams on this thing. So I'm gonna try my best to kind of record as I go. I haven't really figured out if I just want to bust it out or kind of do what I can to help show people maybe how to do it, or just kind of before and after in sound. I'll definitely insert a video from before for hearing like idle, and maybe even some logs, some comparisons of like spool time for the setup. Obviously I'm going to be able to rev it out much higher with it. The motor setup right now, it's 20 over bottom, Ross pistons, eagle rods, the heads built, ported. I want to say Kigley springs, I could be wrong. I forget, I'd have to look at the sheet, but it's got oversized valves, springs, everything pretty much, and it had cams, but I took those out for the green car. So now I'm putting in definitely some pretty sizable cams for this thing. It is on an old school FP red, so I assume I'm gonna pick up a couple hundred, if not maybe even 500 RPMs on spool with these things, just because of the head is basically completely choked out. We got new top line lifters, and then these are the S2s. So if you're not familiar with them, they are a billet 274 camshaft. Everybody kind of says they're kind of like the best bang for the buck as far as like a street strip cam. Obviously I don't have a strip here in Alaska, but I'm really excited to kind of see what big a difference they make. And I'm just gonna slap them in. I'm not gonna degree them or nothing. So the specs on it. So yeah, pretty much if you are wondering what's my car gonna do if I just slap cams in it, well, we'll see. I'm also gonna be tuning on it. Let's see here. GSC recommends 9,000 RPMs for these freaking things. So I'm only gonna be taking them to 8, but. So here are the top line lifters. If I remember right, so this is actually my invoice on the lifters. Paid about 110 bucks for these. I did buy my stuff during Black Friday. I assume each of these has 4. Yep. These are supposed to be they're technically revised lifters, kind of no tick, hopefully. It is a 4G, it's probably going to tick, but we'll see how it goes. I am going with some 1030 VR1. I usually run diesel oil. I'll do like the 1540 Rotella T4, that's why I run the GST. However, Balance Shaft Elite doesn't have a ported oil filter housing, and it's winter, so I went with a little lighter viscosity. We are also going to be trying out this low pressure relief spring for the oil filter housing. I wouldn't imagine this is going to help on top, because the high pressures obviously has to do with the orifice size. But for idle and hopefully cruising, it will tone it down some. So that's what I'm hoping. But for now, alright, so I still haven't set top dead center because I want to pin the auto tensioner before I do that. So right now we're going to remove the power steering belt, well, both the accessory belts. This power steering one, you just got 112 right here. Kind of just loosen that up so that we can slide it. And then on the back side here we got 2 more 12s. All right, so we got the accessory belts off. I'm just gonna leave these loose for now. If I was you, I would disconnect your battery before messing around with the alternator, because I've definitely arced a couple things like that. To get the timing cover off, we're gonna have to remove these pulleys and this crank pulley. So you're gonna have to do these 4 bolts, which will pop off the whole pulley, and then a bunch of 10s, or if you have Allen keys, however your timing cover bolt is on. Then we're gonna pop all that off. Meanwhile, I'm gonna take off this motor mount. The motor is good to hang on the rest of them. So this one is gonna be, you know, 2 14s. I have a 6-bolt swap, so mine might be a little different if you're still 7-bolt. But I have these 2 14s, the 17, then we'll pop that out. It'll kind of sag. Gonna lower the car back down, grab the jack, and basically when I do this, I work, when I do timing in the car, I work about halfway down and halfway above. So we'll let it hang to work on the lower side. I'll use the jack to kind of raise the motor to work on the upper side of it. So for now, I'm gonna get all that pulled out and get the timing cover off, and then we'll look at timing, try to pin the tensioner, and then set it. All right, so I got the cover off, so you can kind of see in there, maybe. It's all off. Like I said, we didn't set top dead center yet. However, the auto tensioner was still decompressed, so I'll see if you guys can get down in there. So now that I have it pinned, which means I can take it off safely, I'm going to set top dead center, and then we're gonna bust it loose and change it all up. To set top dead center on these, there's a couple different ways. The original way for like almost anything, pull spark plug in number 1. On this motor, number 1 is right here next to the timing belt. That's typically where 1 is. And then I'm just gonna use the cams and the crank below. So you can spin the whole crankshaft down here, and this is our oil pump line right here. And then the crank is a little hard to see at this angle, but I'm actually gonna go off the top first. These 2 dots right here need to point straight up, while these 2 lines down here will meet in the middle. And that'll have the cams, at least the cams timed, which means we'll then check to see if the crank is on board after that. So you can see right here, we got these middle pieces pretty much lined up. There's a tool for this, I just don't have it at the moment, which does make life a little worse, but I'll show you the zip tie way to do it. But we got this line even, the 2 cams pointing straight up. We have the oil pump, which is out, which doesn't really matter if you don't have balance shafts, which means that the crank's probably out. So, oh no, the crank is right here at top dead. So we got the crank timed, oil pumps off, who cares, balance shaft delete, and then the cams. So now I am going to pull the plugs because I am replacing them, and we're going to just double check that number 1's at the top before I pull the belt and the valve cover and get it all taken off. So I just pulled cylinder 1, and if you look at it, looks like we might be a little rich some parts. It's actually fairly decent. Timing's pretty conservative. Again, this, I mean, peak timing is only 6 degrees right now on the car. I read on a forum that somebody was kind of fighting knock issues. I don't really have knock issues. However, like I'll pick up, you know, 0.7 to 1 degree or so every now and then, which I assume most of the time is just phantom knock. But however, somebody said they were having kind of these issues, and once they did the cams, it took it away. So I'm kind of hoping that I can push it a little more with the cams. It makes sense because as I mentioned before, it's got stock cams on an oversized head essentially. So I'm kind of like choking it more than it would even be choked by not having them. And these things are gonna be a world of difference. So this car is about to be a whole new beast. I'm pretty excited about it. I just gotta get it done. Sorry if the content's like not super in depth or I'm skipping some things. It is, oh no, it is a little difficult and time consuming to try to get clips and do this all by myself. So I will try my best, and I'm gonna keep moving forward on it. But we got top dead. I'm actually just gonna peek in here. And yep, pistons right there on top. So we're all lined up here for top dead center. So I'm gonna pop the valve cover off, which is just a bunch of these 10s. When you do a valve cover, make sure you tighten it really, really slowly and not very tight, because these things crack pretty easy. The leakage here is from my catch can thing. The seal's a little weird on it, but this valve cover is still in one piece compared to most of my other ones. So they like to crack right here mostly, but anyways, I'll get that stuff off and we'll see what it looks like when I open up the head. So alright, so with the new lifters, they all come in a package like this. They're a little oiled up, but what I'm gonna do is, I actually don't have a container. I would suggest doing it in a lid. But I'm gonna fill this baggie with all the lifters and soak them in the VR1 that I'm gonna be putting in the car. And I'll let them soak pretty much the whole time while I do install the cams and stuff. And then, well, until I get to the point of doing lifters. Then once I do them, I'm gonna take them out, bleed them all, and I'll probably just go one by one, bleed it, pop it in, bleed it, pop it in, bleed it, pop it in. So that'll be the plan for these. So I'm gonna kind of bleed them. I'm gonna squeeze them out now, throw them in the fresh oil, let them sit for a while, and then yeah. So they came and they're pretty tight, which means I'm going to bleed them. An easy way to do that is just by simply taking the paper clip. So I'm going to take this paper clip here, then you kind of stab it down through the middle. Alright, so that's the valve cover off. This is what we're looking like now. And what I'm going to do is take off the cams, and I'm going to start from the middle out. So like basically go here, 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 here. Kind of like your torque, the opposite of your torque sequence. I don't plan on reusing the stock cams or anything, but you can actually warp a cam by taking it off different, kind of like the same rule as doing a head. So yeah, next move actually is probably going to be taking the belt off. So since I have my auto tensioner pinned, I'm gonna loosen the tension arm, probably unbolt the tensioner. Actually, no, I can probably leave the tension on. I'm gonna loosen the tension arm and then kind of just fold the belt over here. I'll leave it on down at the bottom, but I will double check and make sure all of that's all good when I come back around to resetting timing. But for now, I'm just going to loosen it up, pull the belt off these cam gears, and I might actually keep it on to bust these bolts loose because it will help with like resistance to pop them. Alright, so now that I have pretty much all the cam caps loose, a screwdriver usually helps. Try your best not to like scratch or chip anything, but kind of just work up each corner. Some of them will pop off easy, some of them won't. The harder ones tend to be kind of like these corner ones like this. You gotta try your best not to hit the cam. I'm not gonna do this one-handed, but yeah, when you pop them all off, they are all ordered. It says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they have arrows and stuff. However, when I take them off, I still keep them in the exact order and just probably place them on a piece of cardboard or something. So just to double check, I know when I put it back on that it was the right way. Alright, so I got all of the cams out, all the caps off. Everything still looks good in there, which is good to go. I'm actually gonna attempt to leave this cam sensor on to try to avoid setting timing right now, because I'm not sure if I have a timing light. So I'm gonna try to maybe slide my cam into there, but for now I am going to drain the oil, do an oil change out to the lower pressure spring in the oil filter housing, and then probably drizzle some oil all over this thing, clean out all the old stuff, get some new stuff in, and then I'm gonna lube those up with some assembly lube, make sure that they're all good, toss them in here, cap them off. Again, drown everything in oil, because that's something good to do. I also got to switch out the lifters in between, which is easy. You pretty much just pull off your rocker arm like this. I don't really have a good place to set it, but pull up your rocker arm, and they are kind of a little difficult and stubborn sometimes, but yep, once you pop them up, boom, you pop them out, and same ones, the other ones just pop back in like that. So I have got to pull those off too. Alright, here is the low pressure spring for the oil pump. This is the oil filter housing. It's the back one on top. It is I believe it's a 21 mil. I could not fit, oh no, it's gonna fall. Could not fit a socket on it, so I had to use a wrench. You can see, so the stock spring here is much taller. Well, not much, but definitely different. Alright, so popped a new spring in there, got a new crush washer on there, hopefully it doesn't leak. Forgot to drain the oil, so I actually do use a OEM Honda oil filter. They're good quality, they're like $5, and I work for Honda, so it's super convenient for me. But they fit well and they are nice. So put that new one back on there. Just crank it down with your hand. Good to go. Here's all the old lifters, got them out. This is probably all oily. I took my gloves off. New lifters came out of here and got them all in the head. So for now, what I'm gonna do is, just, you can't really put too much clean oil when you're doing something like this. So kind of just make a mess with it, internally at least. Try not to get it in your spark plug holes. Alright, so I got basically everything put back together for the most part. I still have to do my timing cover and pulleys, accessory stuff. But I got the cams in, got it all timed, set the belt tension. I kind of just did it by feel. I didn't use a torque or nothing on the tensioner. I just kind of, I've done it a couple times, so I have an idea. Rotated it around, made sure, there was no contact with the valves or anything, and it all spun and it all lined back up. So just put a little bit of oil in it. Going to gap some spark plugs, toss those in, and then crank it over and set base timing, and then start messing around with the laptop. So timing cover, couple more pulleys, get it all started up. Alright, so I got everything buttoned up and tightened down, and I set the belt and got all accessories on, motor mount, good to go. I think that it's ready to start. So this will be my first attempt. Motor fuse is in, there's oil in it. I don't have a timing light, so that means I'm probably not going to go tuning tonight because I don't really want to go rip on it without base timing set. I did put it back to pretty much what it was at, so it's definitely probably close, but let's see if she starts. Alright, here goes nothing.